Okay, it is Friday, August the 18th, 2023, and it is time for a weather model discussion. How's it going, everyone? William Cole here in the Storm Studio. And this is where we like to take you behind the scenes, not so much looking at the pretty TV graphics, but showing you the raw data we've been sifting through as we've gone through the day. We put this on our social media, YouTube, Facebook, Instagram. If you're seeing it there, feel free to give us a like and feel free to give it a comment below if needed as well. We've got a lot to talk about. Record heat, the tropics are heating up. Even tropical activity moving into Southern California. What's up with that? So, again, details on that. Obviously, we're really going to hone in, though, obviously, on our local North Texas forecast. Now, the big deal today, and I say we don't use pretty TV graphics, but I am here. We're currently, this is as of, we're doing this as of 2:29, 2:30. We're currently at 107 at DFW. And look at our record for today. 112. So, I mean, we've still got a lot to close up, right? I mean, typically we've been peaking out temperature-wise kind of within the 3 o'clock hour, right? So we truly have about an hour-ish left, to make up the ground if we're going to make a run towards the record. That 112 is also not only our daily record, but it's also the record high temperature for the month of August in North Texas, okay? So when, at least in modern history, in August, in North Texas, we've never been hotter than 112. And we don't get even close to it very often. So, I mean, this is a pretty big deal, right? But again, the 107, truly the 107 is not that big of a deal. We've been at 107 this summer, I mean, several times, right? I mean, any other summer, you would look at 107 and you would just think this is just craziness, right? But this summer, for whatever reason, 107 has been a pretty common number. I mean, it really has been. Now, we'll top out. I mean, that again, that was right at 2 o'clock. So we have between 2 and somewhere in 3 o'clock, the 3 o'clock time frame to still max that out, okay? My forecasted high was 111. It seems like we may be underperforming that just a little bit, but I still think we're going to get pretty close to 110 and maybe even still pop that 111. So very hot out there. I mean, just dangerously hot. Here's a look at just obs around North Texas, right? Observations around North Texas. And again, you're seeing at 106, 107, 108, all of that is pretty common. The only real exception where the moisture is just a little bit thicker, the humidity in the air mass is a little bit thicker over in our eastern counties. More humid air does not warm as easy, right? One of the reasons why our temperatures are really jumping up, other than the summer heat dome moving back. Obviously, the summer heat dome is right over North Texas, sinking air, compressing it, but also the air mass is very dry, not a lot of humidity, and we continue to mix that out through the day, and that's why we kind of get those late afternoon kind of big jumps, similar to yesterday in the temperatures. From there, let's go and just take a quick peek. It's been a little hazy out there today as well. I don't know if you've noticed that, if you've been outside at all, even looking out your office window, whatever. You can see it from the live cam as well. I mean, this is from Reunion Tower looking at downtown Dallas in 4K. A little bit of a milkiness to the sky today as well, just a little bit of haze out there. And again, sometimes that can, even though not much, but sometimes that can even act to limit the temperatures by a degree or two as well. Surface analysis just around the nation. The summer heat dome is really moving in across a good part of the country into the weekend, into next week. Not a lot's going to be going on. The big story nationally, it is going to be in Southern California. And again, they've got a hurricane, which is right now a Category 4. Not impossible it even touches a Category 5 hurricane moving in their direction. Now, it's going to hit some cooler waters, and it's going to weaken significantly. At least that's the plan, okay? That's the plan, where everyone's crossing their fingers that happens. But the plan is it's going to weaken significantly, but may still, again, come on into Southern California as a tropical storm. In fact, there is, for the first time ever, a tropical storm watch that has been issued for San Diego and Orange County in the far southern sections of Southern California. So we'll kind of look at that coming up as well. But here's what I want to do. Let's go and switch over to the computer here, and this is what we're trying to get to. Bear with me one second. This is what we're trying to get to. This right here. And so this is just our analysis, right? This is our upper air look. And again, this is from the Storm Prediction Center mesoanalysis page. And what sticks out? I mean, what do you see first off, right? It's that donut hole, right? Big area of high pressure. North Texas right here. It's basically centered over us. And what you're seeing right there, the dome is going to continue to drift a little bit further to the north, believe it or not, even up kind of towards the Midwest over the next several days. We won't necessarily be directly under it over the weekend, but we're going to be right in its influence. But again, a good part of the country is going to be directly influenced over the dome or under the dome, and it's going to be a significant heat wave, especially kind of trending, towards the end of summer now. A lot of folks are already thinking about fall. Hot, dry heat wave again, at least probably for the next 5 to maybe 7 days across a good part of the nation. So that will be a big weather story, again, not just locally, but again, for other folks, again, who aren't necessarily used to, prolonged, meaning several day heat waves and really haven't seen them over the summer. They're going to be seeing it now, like I mentioned, at least over the next 5 to 7 days. Let's also go and take a look at this here. And this is what I want to get to. And this is just from the NextLab. This is just looking at the satellite and radar composite, right? The visible satellite imagery and radar laid on top of it. And you can call that the mosaic. So the only real active weather has been up in the Northeast, right? You can kind of see the counterclockwise spin. It's a big area of low pressure. See, that almost looks like a little comma right there, right? A big area of low pressure. It's been slowly making its way east. We were talking about this yesterday. It was up in the Great Lakes region. So it's been spinning through. Several tornadoes today up in the Rhode Island area. In fact, there was a tornado warning right over Providence earlier this morning. That continues to move away. But the little boundary that's attached to it and draped along it, you can almost kind of see kind of within that cloud there, right? Kind of within the cloud deck, you can kind of see how linear it is, how it pulls down. That's actually it's a continental cold front. There's no cold air with it, but essentially it's a boundary. And again, you can see it kind of triggering thunderstorms down from the Florida Peninsula, now all the way off the eastern seaboard. So it's a major weather player, but the bottom line is it's moving away, right? Even from the northeast, it's pulling out of there. And again, their pattern is going to go fairly quiet as well. There's been some monsoonal moisture out across parts of the desert Southwest. A lot of folks in the desert Southwest, because they have not had really a true monsoon season, this is when they don't get much rain out there, but the little rain they get, typically they get it now. There's another very small kind of December to January wet season. It's pretty minimal, but this is when they get their rain, right? It's been very non-existent. So a lot of the folks out there have been jumping up and down. They're starting to get some monsoon moisture, but it doesn't even matter, because with the hurricane coming in, what will then just kind of be the remnants moving into the desert Southwest, they're going to get plenty of rain. Okay, so they're going to get caught up quickly. They don't need the monsoon moisture, but they are technically today getting it. Okay, so from there, let's also go and take a look at this here. And this is just a convective outlook, right? Looking around the nation, where is the active weather today? Again, you can basically see the monsoonal moisture get out to the west. You can see that very small area, marginal risk, what's left of that up in the northeast. Again, most of that activity is pulling away. And then even as we go forward in time, right, like over the next couple of days, notice how for tomorrow, Saturday, there's really nothing showing up. Why is that? Well, because the summer heat dome, right, for most of the country, it's in control. You're typically not looking out to the west coast to find convective weather, right? I mean, it's mainly from the Rockies off to the east. This would typically be the zone, if there were to be anything, that you would be looking for the potential for severe weather, right? But there's none there, because that's where the summer heat dome is. Okay, so even convective weather really being kind of suppressed, at least in the near term. Taking you out to day 3, similar story, most of the nation, nothing going on, heat dome in full control. And again, you see that marginal risk out to the west. Of course, the reason for that is, again, the remnants of Hillary moving in. And, typically whenever you're dealing with a tropical system, you do have the opportunity, number one, of wind. You more so relate that to the tropical aspect, not so much a severe aspect, but what severe component do you typically have with tropical weather? Or what do we consider severe? Tornadoes, right? You typically have weak, quick spin-up tornadoes with tropical activity. So the opportunity, even outside of what would be classified as tropical weather, you still have the opportunity of quote-unquote severe weather with tropical systems, if that makes sense as well. So the National Hurricane Center working on the tropical aspects and the storm impacts from that end, but the Storm Prediction Center, the SPC, also monitoring for what is quote-unquote severe weather and the severe aspects with the system, if that makes sense. So otherwise, so again, it's a pretty quiet pattern, right, as we begin to head into the weekend. Even quiet for us here as well. We are going to be talking about our own opportunity of maybe some tropical weather in Texas, probably not so much in North Texas, but here is the tropics. And the tropics have energized. And, you know, we've kind of been anticipating this, but it's happening. And even though you're seeing red out here to the east, this may turn into something, but this is going to be moving up into the high latitudes. It's going to curve, and even though it may get a name, for us, it's really not going to be a big deal. For the U.S., it's not going to be really a big deal. I don't really see a lot with this happening. The Hurricane Center is giving it a medium probability. Something may happen there. I don't really see a lot. But what has a low probability still now is this little system here, which looks ultra raggedy on the satellite. It doesn't look like much. But I'm going to show you the model data. This tries to come into the Caribbean and then curves back around and then kind of gets stalled in the flow over the next 5 days. And based off the Euro, and the very newest data just came in, we're going to look at it together. I haven't even seen it yet, but at least this morning, the Euro really trying to develop that into something. Okay, and that may need to be watched because that could easily curve right back into the Caribbean and maybe even into the Gulf, right? It was basically at day 10 was the end of the data with that. Okay, so we're going to get an update on that here in just a minute. The other thing we're more so watching in the near term, as in like right now, is this disturbance that's currently moving into the Caribbean as well. This will move into the Gulf. We talked about this yesterday. If you watched the segment yesterday, that 9 times out of 10, if you just have a disturbance moving into the Gulf and it has a low end probability and everyone's kind of writing it off, what happens? It typically turns into something. The latest data is forming this now into a depression, maybe a tropical storm, right before it makes landfall near the Corpus area. And we're going to look at the very newest data on that coming up momentarily. And it's not impossible, it's even stronger. Could even make it to Hurricane 1. I mean, we see this every year. The same thing happens every year, not just on our Texas coast, but again, even along the Florida coast. In fact, more so along the Florida coast. You know, it looks like it's going to be nothing. And then, not that it's anything crazy, but it comes up to a tropical storm, maybe even a Hurricane 1. Okay, so we've got several things going on out there, and then even further down the road, we're still watching what could be a little piece of energy coming up from Central America. This is in about 10 days that the model data is still hinting at that's going to move into the Gulf of Mexico as well. So the bottom line is tropical season is really getting active. And very quickly, I'll show you Hillary as well. Hillary's a major hurricane right now. Winds still at 145. And her pressure continues to drop. She's at 939. Not impossible that she maxes out at a Cat 5, but it's probably becoming a little more not going to happen, a little less probable. The waters are slowly but surely going to get a little bit cooler. Right now she's still in a good environment, but again, the further north she gets, the waters are going to become a little bit cooler. Okay, then dramatically cooler, and that's what's going to quickly weaken her. Okay. But right now, she's still a major hurricane. In fact, let me go and click on this. Let me see if, yeah, this is what I want to get to. So there it is. And there's the cone. It hasn't changed a whole lot, right? Kind of the westerly, which are typically more concerned about with tropical systems, right? It's kind of that westerly flank is more so going to be moving into the California Baja, right? Locations like Rosarita, even back up through Tijuana, TJ, locations like that. And then there could still be some tropical storm force winds in parts of Orange County and also San Diego County. And again, really for the low deserts in California, I mean, this is going to be a huge deal. I mean, this is more rain typically than they get in a couple of years. And when I was in the Navy, I said this yesterday, I lived in Southern California twice, once up in Fresno, also in the Central Valley, completely different part of California, but twice in Southern California. And I'm very familiar with San Diego County specifically, and also off to the east, like Imperial County and things like that. And it's all dry, and you just have these old, what they call washes, and they're just kind of ditches. And if they get any rain, I mean, you'll just see the roads wash out. I mean, it just becomes, they get like no rain, none of it soaks into the soil whatsoever, and it's kind of terrainy, and so it all just comes together, and you get these big washes. And it just, and you think, you know, like modern day roads, like everything, you know, an inch of rain, you'd be fine. I mean, you're talking about like an inch of rain, and I mean, like roads are washed out. You're driving, you're like, what's going? I mean, it's almost unbelievable. So this is going to be not just an industry rain. This is going to be a high volume of water coming in to the low deserts that they just. It's unprecedented. I mean, I'm sure it's happened at some point in history, but in modern history, it's just, this is kind of unprecedented for them. So this will be a big deal. It'll be very interesting for the folks out there and see what happens with that. Okay, so let's do this. I want to come back over to the model. And since we're talking about the tropics, let me just quickly run you through the tropics, and we've got a better zoom for the model. Yeah, that's what we want to do right there. And so this is based off the euro, okay? And I know it's always a little hard to kind of tell what I'm talking about when we look at this. This is vorticity, and this is the 500 millibar chart, still kind of that mid-level of the atmosphere, but we're looking for any areas of spin, okay? Blue and green, it is kind of vague, diffuse spin, things we're not overly concerned about, but it will kind of show us if there's a wave, okay? If this thing starts lighting up yellow and red, that's tighter vorticity. And in this situation, because we're talking about the tropics, the only reason that's important is it's basically showing an area of low pressure really spinning up and coming together, okay? So it's kind of layman terms, but for all intents and purposes, that's kind of what to look for, okay? I'm going to come back over to this. So here's what we're watching, right? We're going to watch this area coming into the Gulf. Disturbance 1, 2, and 3. Okay, let me go and clear this off. And we'll take these one by one. Let's first of all watch what's coming into the Gulf. And this is the newest run. I have not even seen this one yet. Okay, so here we go. Everything's still basically on cue with what we've seen. Look at this. Look at that. See the red? It's trying to intensify it even before it makes it to the coast. It's not an overly impressive signal. In fact, earlier today it was a little bit stronger. The signal this morning was a little bit stronger, but right about there, see that? See that area of red? I know that sounds very elementary to say see that area of red, but literally that's what we're looking for on this chart. So it's not impossible. 1, it becomes a depression. 2, it becomes a storm. If we were in Vegas and I was betting on this, I would wager this is going to be a tropical storm. Is it impossible it becomes a Hurricane 1 before it makes landfall? I don't think it's impossible. I really don't. The Gulf waters are warm, and the hostile winds that we typically see in an El Nino year, right? The wind shear, it's relaxing a little bit. The environmental conditions are not great for development, but they're definitely not like they were 2 weeks ago, right? 2 weeks ago, if you saw something like this, you'd probably be like, nah, nothing's going to happen. Now it looks like probably at least a depression, a storm, maybe a little bit more. Okay, so we're going to watch that. Let's watch the Gulf. I'm going to run this all the way through the end, and I just want to watch for that one other wave that we've continued to get signals from. And let's see. So we're getting to day 10. See, it's still giving us a very weak signal, but it's not as strong as yesterday. But it's this little wave here, right? And when you're looking out into the extended, again, this is 9 days out, that little wave. Yesterday it was trying to develop it. What it's going to do, it's going to go back and forth, right? One day it's going to look like something, one run it's not going to look like something, and it'll just go back and forth. And it may never be anything, right? I mean, we're literally looking out 8 days into the future for a small area of low pressure, okay? But where I'm going with this, I mean, we want to keep track of it. This time of year, the end of August, September, any wave, any low pressure area in the Gulf, what do? You keep your eye on it, right? So, but again, we started to get that signal yesterday. It was there this morning, and it's still there today. So again, the model, there's a little consistency that there could be, again, in about 8, 9, 10 days, an additional area of low pressure somewhere in the Gulf, maybe right there in the Bay of Campeche, coming out of the Bay of Campeche, close to the Texas coast, that we want to keep our eye on, right? That's kind of the way to look at it for right now, okay? So from there, okay, let's come back out to the main development zone. And I want to, and we'll go through this quickly because I do want to talk about our local weather as well. But again, I just want to kind of run through this because tropical weather for us, as we know, can be impactful. We can be impacted by this even in North Texas and also for our friends down along the coast as well. Okay, so we're going to watch this other weather maker now. This other wave. And there it is moving into the Caribbean. So, and you see it right there. See how it circles? Watch this here. See right here? See how this circles? And this is what I'm talking about right there. I'm going to back this up. See how it kind of does a loop? It kind of gets cut off with the flow. There's a big storm trough to the north. See this big storm trough up here to the north? And that might try and kick it out this way too. okay? Let's go and roll this back into motion here. And nothing really happens with it, right? You see it kind of getting sucked up towards that trough. There it goes a little later, maybe, out into the open Atlantic. That's not, there's nothing definite with that. I mean, we're still looking way out into the future, you know what I mean? But that right there is not looking as impressive as it was yesterday, okay? And again, that will also continue to flip-flop, you know, run to run. It could look more impressive first thing tomorrow morning, but again, it's just something to keep our eye on, right? So the bottom line is right now, for all intents and purposes, for us locally, we are going to be watching that one wave, right, that comes in Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday along the coast. Right now, that's the only thing that's looking definite, okay, with the data we're looking at, okay? From there, I want to come back. I want to talk about our local weather here now. I want to talk about our local weather. And just real quick, while we have this, take a look. Let's run this through Hillary too. There's Hillary coming up along the California Baja. And her track really isn't changed. She's going to begin to interact with land. She's going to really make landfall down around Rosarita, which is in the California Baja, then come right up near Tijuana, TJ, whatever you want to call it, and then right into like Imperial County of Southern California. And the westerly quadrant is still staying, you know, the easterly quadrant. I think I said westerly earlier. Easterly quadrant. It's Friday. Sorry, it's Friday. The easterly quadrant is still staying well to the east of you know, kind of the beaches of San Diego and all the way up into parts of Orange County as well. So that would be good. Okay, so now back to our weather. We've kind of covered all the national stuff. And let me go and roll you through what we got going on, because what we're going to be watching for, it's that right there. It's the dome. And can we eventually end up getting any storm troughs from the north coming down? Okay. So the dome is still in control. This is over about the next 4 to 5 days. Man, that's, I mean, there it is. I mean, this is all the way now. This is through next Wednesday. Through next Wednesday. Look at this. I mean, this is the dome with the core right there. I mean, that's through next Wednesday now. Let me keep going. There's a little storm trough. You can see a little trough trying to come down. Right there, kind of beating the dome. So the core of the dome then shifts back a little bit further to the south. But that's still nothing major. I mean, that will give some heat relief to the Midwest. And then it turns into a better troughing pattern in the Northeast. You can see that. Here's the dome. It's beat down, but it's still there. So for us here in North Texas, yeah, we may take the heat down a level, but are we probably still talking about triple digits all the way through? I mean, this is day 8, day 9 now. And there's a more significant. Now, this is what we're looking for. Now, this may be something good. Now, this is at date. This is where this is the very last frame of the data. And this is new. Okay, this is new. But this looks good. But it's also 10 days out, and it could disappear by the next model run. Okay, that is what we want to start looking for. Okay, and there's the dome getting pushed back out to the west. Okay, so the heat on day 10, and this would be Monday. Again, not this upcoming Monday. So we're talking about this weekend, all of next week, the following weekend, and then that Monday. Okay, just to put that into perspective. Here comes, that's a pretty significant trough. Okay, and again, this is still not locked in. 10 day, again, all this can completely change, but it's at least a glimmer of good news on the horizon, right? And that would be by the 28th of August. Okay, so right at the end of August, basically. Just quickly, let's take a look at the 850 millibar chart. And this is above the surface, but this is just air mass change. And we know in the near term there's no air mass change, right? It's hot, hot, hot. Nothing's going to change with that. And so there, and this is still mainly continental, but there is an air mass change with it, right? So you can see by day 10, there's going to be a front associated with that. Now, can that front make it all the way down into North Texas? Maybe, maybe not. But the dome, the core of the heat, look at that. It shifts out to the west. And we're at least, even if we don't get the front all the way down into the area, more than likely we will, probably as nothing else as a wind shift line, it'll give us some break from the heat. Could that maybe even begin to drop us below the triple digits? It might. right? But that's our first real active storm. That would be, again, for the end of summer, heading into fall, kind of that season, right? That would be our first active storm trough, okay? That would be good. That right there would be good. The other thing I just quickly want to look at with this, only for the fact that data right there, again, is brand new. That's the newest run that just came in. Let's look at precip here as well. And then we'll look at some numbers. So in the near term, here's the latest run for early next week. And look at all the precip. It's down in the Rio Grande Valley, right? I mean, that's it. Rio Grande Valley, in fact, some of the heaviest rain stays down in Mexico. So deep south, so that's a deep south Texas still. Here in North Texas, we may get some clouds, little humidity, but that's it, right? It's going to be a non-player. The clouds will help with our temperature some. Let me just roll this on through. Let's take a look at the end of this. Now that's a pretty decent little complex of storms up in Oklahoma. Again, with that next trough coming down, and again, we're just extrapolating all this. Remember, this is still 10 days out. I just say this all the time because none of this is matter of fact, right? We're just kind of visualizing what could happen in 10 days or what could happen with the potential pattern change in 10 days. And the bottom line is there is some convection, there is some storms up in Oklahoma. Again, if we could even get something to go up there, could they maybe move down into our area? Could we at least get some relief, some way, somehow in 10 days? The door's cracked open now, okay? With the other trough that was well up in the Midwest, moving over towards New England, that's not going to do anything for us. Even if it did maybe send a little wind shift line down in our area, just like the rest of our summer cold fronts, I mean, they haven't done anything, right? This could be real relief. I mean, is what we're looking for. I mean, at this point, that's what we're looking for. That's really all we're looking for is some relief, because let's go and look at the blend of models. And these are your temperatures here. So I've got 109 and 109 for the weekend. The blend is now 108 tomorrow. It's 110 on Sunday. With some of the cloud cover on Tuesday and Wednesday, again, we have no precip and a little more in the way of moisture, humidity in the area. Remember, moist air doesn't warm quite as easy. We'll take the temperatures down Tuesday and Wednesday to 103. That's why the temperatures are dropping there with the model. Dome's still in full control. Once we begin to kind of mix out some of that humidity, we no longer have the clouds around. I mean, look at the end of next week heading into the following weekend. I mean, 105 to 107. I mean, this is brutal stuff. I mean, it really is. And there we go. This is by day 10, 102. And then we would possibly have that trough again right after that 102. Again, it's off the data. It's not there yet. So maybe a glimmer of good news. But again, between now and then, guys, I mean, this is a tough forecast. I mean, this really is, And I mean, a lot of folks ask me all the time, I mean, is this normal? I mean, so our channel, as everyone knows, Roku, Apple, Amazon, Fire TV. Most folks who move to North Texas and are new to the area, I mean, that's what they use, right? They don't really use traditional cable. They're not really watching just the normal stations. I mean, we're kind of, especially for new folks, I would almost argue 9 out of 10 new residents to North Texas, we are their weather, I mean, literally, we're their weather channel. So, folks that are new, they're always asking, is this normal? I mean, what is up with this? And the answer is no, right? I mean, our average high, it peaks out at 97, and that was just a few days ago, where now our average high would be around 96 over the last 30 years, 96 and dropping. So, I mean, we're running, 10, 11, 12 degrees above where we should be. Not unprecedented, but I mean, we're at the upper end, right? I mean, even the 112, the record for today, if we get anywhere near that, again, in modern history, that's the highest temperature ever in August. And we're talking about being within that realm, right? So this is a big deal. This is big time stuff. And again, especially, for the folks who are working outdoors, I mean, absolutely brutal for them. And again, even for the kiddos, going back to school and stuff, this does impact things there. I mean, think about, football, getting ready for football, all that kind of stuff, right? So this is high impact for us here in North Texas. So that's where we are, folks. I mean, like I said, this has kind of been an abbreviated one. There's some days, if you're new to these, we go through a lot of different stuff. I mean, it's really all we got. I mean, it's hot. I could have summed it up in 2 different web pages there. I mean, it's hot. We've got the heat dome, and I mean, that's it. I mean, there's just nothing. But hopefully, again, in 10 days, maybe there's a little bit of relief there on the way. So by the way, if you have not downloaded our free mobile app, be sure to do that today. Again, you can go to your app store, just type in Weather Tracker TV DFW. Again, it's a completely free download. And of course, also like I mentioned, Roku, Apple, Amazon Fire TV. If you haven't already put us, again, we're a live channel on there. If you haven't put us or added us on there, make sure you do that as well. Otherwise, that's where we are, folks. Make it a great weekend. Patrice Brown, she'll be here tomorrow, and she'll be keeping you up to date with the weather. And by the way, today's also her birthday, so we want to wish Patrice Brown a happy birthday as well. So, all right, have a great day and have a great weekend.